Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another late episode of Trolling the Territory. Isaac Riston here. I'm joined by one of the few men in this country that can make jean shorts look good. He's the human Fitbit fresh out of the shower. Ladies and gentlemen, Leigh Hallison.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Were you checking out my behind as I went to close the door?
More on that at 11. Hey, welcome back to another episode here where we are diving into 1996. That's right. It's the 25th anniversary of everything changing in professional wrestling. And why are we watching that? Because everything sucks right now.
It does.
Let's talk about stuff that sucks. Going over the ratings here from last week from Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and Dynamite. We're just going to jump right in, folks. Bump the stories. We got a lot to cover. Raw had 1.64 million around about on the 7th, and then on the 14th they had 1.7, so about 100,000 people, right? We're getting close to SummerSlam. I think business is going to pick up a little bit as we kind of, we're about to hit a pay-per-view, right? This isn't that this weekend?
It is Hell in a Cell.
Oh my God, we got to watch that. Another one. Another one bites the railroad spike. NXT, Deader Than Kelsey's Nuts, from June 8th had 669,000. SmackDown from June 11th had 1.8. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Wednesday Night War, now on Fridays, 487,000 people watched Dynamite. More people bought the record that's behind me than watched Dynamite.
That's amazing.
I did not watch. I can't watch. I just can't. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
I used to be so excited about Dynamite. I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to be. Talking about somebody who's excited about Dynamite, Mark Henry. They want to sign Braun Strowman.
Yeah, like we talked about this. Where are they going to fit him in? Like physically and roster wise? Like, well,
I'm sure the height of the ceilings there are a little bit lower because they don't have that many. I don't know where they would fit him in. I mean, he can't be. Can he be a babyface in AEW?
Is anyone a babyface in AEW?
Well, it's because they don't have babyface. Like, I know that, but at the same time, it's like he couldn't. I don't see him being a babyface in AEW, and I can't see him being a heel because he just shouldn't be there. I think he needs to go do something else. Personally,
that's what I'm saying. How do you make room for yet another ex WWE reject? How do they do that and justify it?
I tell you what, if they put him in with the Dark Order,
oh, great.
Or he's a part of Matt Hardy's stable. Oh no. Speaking of unstable, everybody in AEW gets their feelings hurt anytime somebody offers any sort of criticism, especially when Triple H talked about how basically the entire women's evolution. Is it still an evolution? We've moved past that, haven't we?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well, my apologies to all the female wrestlers out there, but Triple H wanted to, make it known in a tweet that a lot of women really want to be in WWE, and that the best of the best are in WWE. He's not entirely wrong.
No, I don't think he's entirely wrong. Of course, there's going to be exceptions, but the thing that really gets me is that it wasn't a jab at anybody else other than just to say, hey, my company's the best. It's awesome. And anyone who's anybody wants to come and wrestle here. And even that will get under Tony Khan's skin.
It just blows my mind. It's like, Tony, buddy, no one called you out there.
I know.
Has he ever been in a fight? Can we figure that out? Has Tony Khan ever been in a fight?
Look at that man. Do you think I'm barely calling him a man, but look at him. Do you think that has ever been in a fight?
That has ever been in a fight. Proper pronouns, people. No.
It's a billionaire's kid right there. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I don't understand why it's all of them. Even Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone now. I can't even listen to Tony Schiavone's podcast because he immediately thinks that people that are talking bad about AEW are talking about his wife at this point. Same thing with Jim Ross.
That's insane.
They get so butthurt. And it's just like, guys, who cares? Yeah. Why do you care? Why do you the more that you give it attention, the more that you make it a bigger deal than it really needs to be. Mm-hmm. Talking about things you shouldn't talk about. Tony Khan wants to publicly admit that they're in the red because they've been investing in a video game. Okay. I'm looking at this picture right here. I clicked on the link for this article. It's on Forbes. The picture that pulls up when you immediately open this, of course, Brandy's there. Why is she's not even on TV? She's got nothing to do with anyway. Oh, and Big Show's in his ring gear. Somebody didn't Photoshop his little show out of it. God, like hog watching, ladies and gentlemen. But in this picture on the ropes, we've got Britt Baker standing on she's in the back left corner. Look up this article. We'll post a link to it. But on one side, and we're not even going to talk about the the statement, but literally it says "Meet All Elite Wrestling." Tony Khan's in the middle of the ring, wearing what looks to be Air Force Ones, altered or he looks like Donald Trump pants. Okay, like just straight off the rack suit pants.
Yeah,
a textured heather gray jacket. What should have been a skinny tie and a white shirt. His hair's all messed up. He's wearing shades. But on the ropes,
you know what he looks like? He looks like he stole his dad's suit.
Oh no!
He looks like a 12-year-old that stole his dad's suit.
Like big,
and thinks he's cool in the middle. Like, this is my first wrestling action set from Hasbro.
Somebody, look, I can already tell that somebody skinnied up Chris Jericho in post production. But
absolutely.
Britt Baker's on the ropes. Sean Spears is on the ropes. Eddie Kingston's on the ropes. Not pictured, strangely enough, is John Moxley.
What the?
Okay, so Dax and Dawson, MJF, are kind of behind Tony. On the other side, you've got Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and a pregnant, which is totally fine. I'm happy for her. I love it. But she's pregnant. She hasn't been on TV in a long time. Brandy Rhodes. On one rope, we've got, I can't remember his name, but he's in Team Taz.
Hobbs.
Yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs. Mind you, no one is standing adjacent to Big Show. He's just by himself. He's not even on the ropes. You
got Big Show there wearing something that no one's ever seen him wear, by the way. No one. Yeah.
Right? I don't think
but
anybody
you don't
needs
have
to.
John Moxley?
and no one's standing opposite of Riho. Is that who that is? Is that Riho? Was that the women's champion that's pictured there?
That's
Shida?
Hikaru Shida, yeah.
Okay, so Shida's down in between Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Okay. I mean, is this a split of heel and babyface, right? I'm assuming the heels are on the left, the babyfaces are on the right, which kind of flows in with their branding. They have shrunken up the entrance to fit in both. It looks like they've shrunken that up a little bit to bring all those in. I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong. But this is so... Darby Allin's holding the TNT Championship. Cody Rhodes is not next to his wife. He's down in the front, adjacent of Wardlow. This picture had to have been taken a while ago, but it's at Daly's place. I'm sorry. I had to just to look at this stupid picture.
It's definitely, to me,
AEW.
that's not I don't even think it's a picture. I think they've superimposed a lot of this stuff. I think this is
The
all a
shadows look
stage.
too good.
Yeah.
For them to have photoshopped it, and I can also see.
Look at Brandy. That's not. She wasn't there. That's just
Dude, oh man, more on Brandy when we have time and actually care.
Yeah.
Tony Khan admitted that they're in the red because they've been working on a video game, and I'm sure they're in the red for a few reasons. One, they're not doing any house shows. Their ratings are tanking because they're not on Wednesday nights. I think they're also tanking because I think the honeymoon phase is over. I think a lot of people, including myself, right? I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
I've tried to watch this. I've tried. And I've said it before on the show. I was like, man, maybe Tony Khan is a secret genius. No, he's not a genius. He just got lucky. I hope that they turn it around. I hope they do something fun. I would love to have a more my age kind of wrestling promotion. I think more and more that's probably something like what's Billy Corgan's promotion again?
N.W.O.
N.W.O. I think that might be more my speed.
Yeah.
But I can't watch NXT. Like they need to start touring NXT. Like,
yeah, I want to see what everything looks like once touring starts back for everybody, because I really do feel like a big reset button is coming. And that some people are probably going to squander it, as we know. But at least there is a restart coming, and we'll see what they make of it. But I agree with you. I'd love to check out N.W.O.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially as we know now that Mickie James is going to be producing an all women's pay-per-view for
dude. I see that. Tell me more.
Well, I don't really know much more other than that.
Okay.
She just announced it. Yeah. Like, I mean, the fact is that she's a tremendous talent.
Yeah.
I think we were all scratching our heads when she was released, because the wealth of knowledge and experience that she has, that she could have brought to that WWE roster over numerous talent that they have there that I just don't get, Tamina.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand. Like, she could teach so much there.
Well, it might be this, right? It might be this. It might be that WWE knew that. It might be that they knew that I'm probably not really going to have a spot for her. So why not cut her loose? Let her go fill her dreams, fulfill her dreams.
Yeah.
And I really do hope that's the case, that they're giving her the chance to do that. And how cool is that for her?
Yeah.
For anybody, really.
Remember I remember your rant very well, talking about how she should go and talk to everybody and say, hey, let's do a cross promotional all women's something.
It would be awesome if they did that. If they brought in brought in other talent. I mean, I don't see why anybody in WWE would have a problem with that. If they do, sure, there's probably contractual stuff involved. There's probably health and safety stuff involved. But if it were for a good cause, it would be great to have one massive supercard a year, or every 2 years. Hell, make it like the Olympics every 4 years. There's this huge interpromotional war with all of the wrestling promotions that are on the planet, or at least the most notable ones. I don't know if we need to get CZW involved. But yeah, the same thing could be said for women's product. I will say this: I listened to this past week's 83 Weeks with Bischoff and Conrad, and they had Scott Hall on.
Wow, I haven't heard this yet.
Listen, if you're listening to this show, I would not be offended if you paused it right now and went and listened to Conrad talk to Scott Hall. There were so many little tidbits that we're going to be able to interject into what we're going to be doing here for a little bit. At least getting to Austin 316. We're right on the heels of Jesus. We're about to talk about the first stunner that happened on Raw.
Yeah.
Guys, we haven't even gotten, and let's go ahead and transition into that, unless there's any more news.
Any Anything important? I don't know. Would you consider The Rock possibly being at Survivor Series important?
I saw that. I can't really, like, as much as I love being able to say, like, you know, Dave Meltzer had to say in the
Yeah.
Observer, like, I'm going to reference that a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like Jake Gammon once said, until we're on the bus headed to the gig, I'm not going to get excited about it.
Of course. I actually thoroughly agree with that. The one thing I will say that helps this whole thing
Mm-hmm.
is if he was there, it would mark his 25th anniversary of his debut at Survivor Series. So
That was at MSG.
It was.
And I remember him. There was some interview where I don't know if it was Jim Ross or somebody, but he was talking about how he completely messed up and was not looking at the hard camera. He could not find it anywhere. He was just so in his element and just
smiley,
just real smiley. Die Rocky die. That was
there you go.
Oof, man. Here's the thing: you can't say that to Roman Reigns. So
how much do you think The Rock's cameo is, by the way? I just want to know.
Okay, yeah. So we're starting to get some of these third-party apps up and rolling. For $750, you can look at Shawn Michaels. For $600, you can look at Seth Rollins. Okay, wait a minute. Seth Rollins is $600, but Sami Zayn is $350.
Yeah.
I might spend $350 on Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens is $500. Okay. Out of this list, all right. So we've got Alexa Bliss at $600, Bianca Belair at $400, Bobby Lashley at $450.
I don't want to
Cesaro, yeah, unless it's Leo Rush. Cesaro at $350, Charlotte Flair at $500, Drew McIntyre at $450, Kevin Owens at $500, Nia Jax at $350. What is she gonna say? My hole? Rey Mysterio at $500. He's wearing a mask, folks. He's been protected from COVID since the mid '90s. Rhea Ripley $350, Sami Zayn $350. I think that's kind of an insult to put Sami and Rhea at the same price point when Seth Rollins is $250 more. And Shawn Michaels taking the cake for the $750.
They blatantly base all of this on their merch sales.
Really?
Look at it. Alexa Bliss, $600. Yeah, of course. That's what it is. This is all based on merch sales.
You know, when you look up best hashtags for whatever you're posting and you type in like WWE,
yeah,
some of the like biggest hashtags are hashtag Becky Lynch, hashtag Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
The Charlotte Flair. I mean, come on.
Look, I'd pay $500, just maybe not $500, maybe $400 to get insulted by Charlotte Flair for sure.
Oh, that would be rad. Humiliation, anybody? Clear your browsing history. I see Eva Marie, Samoa Joe, John Cena.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's even worth mentioning. John Cena has all but confirmed that he's coming back, and now with all the reports of him being Roman Reigns' potential SummerSlam opponent.
Man, I want that.
You don't want that?
No, I do want that.
You do want that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I just want to see him back on live show. I need fans. That's what it is. I need fans. It's all amping up to that. There were reports. Now I did watch a little bit of NXT last night just because of the reports about Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I read the article about how Triple H was real pissed that he was allowed to leave and snatched him back real fast and has brought him back to work for NXT exclusively. So he debuted last night as William Regal's enforcer and choked out Adam Cole. And it was great. I love him. I love Samoa Joe. And what a complete waste of everything.
Yeah, you can't let that guy go.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I did watch that. I agree with you on NXT. It still feels like it's for kids.
I feel like they're wrestling in a really dark Dave and Buster's.
Yes, they are. So once they
they are. They are.
Once they get out of that, it'd be nice to see how things evolve. But I will say this: there's one shining light for me in that whole show. I'm outside of the Samoa Joe thing.
Okay.
L.A. Knight or Eli Drake.
Okay.
Have you heard him promo?
No, I haven't.
Dude.
But LA Knight makes me think of British Knights, the shoe.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I'm looking
that's
at a
kind of the
picture
deal.
of him. He looks legit, man.
He is, and he's a great work. Like, he lays his shit in. And he's a great worker. He's a great wrestler. But his promo is legit. He feels like a throwback.
I'm looking at him right now. Yeah, this is going to be. He's going to be a big thing.
He's the new $1 million champion.
Oh, he won the $1 million belt.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I'm all about it. I really am all about it. That was the only segment I really watched other than the choke out for Adam Cole. That was really it. And I'm just impressed. I'm impressed by him. In whatever platform. Like, he's the type, he was already instantly the type of wrestler that I'd be like, okay, if you weren't even in WWE next year, I would watch you wherever you go. You're awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he looks jacked.
Yeah, I just want you to hear him talk.
He looks like a wrestler.
Yeah, I really want you to hear him talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to write it down. LA Knight. Sorry. I used to use the mess out of LA looks. The hair gel.
Yes.
For those of you that aren't familiar. Well, let's talk about something that is familiar, and that's 1996. We are right at the cusp of WCW debuting its 2-hour format. That started on May 27th, and Monday Night Raws are being taped. This round of Monday Night Raws were all taped at the Cumberland County Memorial Auditorium in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Allegedly, that was a 4-hour show. And remember, I told you guys, I went to a 4-hour taping of Superstars where they just cleared a ton of weeks of just constant matches, people wrestling again and over again. I think I saw Ahmed Johnson wrestle like 4 times. But we're coming off the heels of Beware of Dog, right? There was a massive outage, a massive power outage. But we're still looking at Raw doing, and this is for June 10th, 1996. Raw doing a 2.7 and a 4.4 share, with Nitro doing a 2.6 and a 4.4 share. 2.5 the first hour and 2.6 the second hour. And this is back when they had replays of the shows. Yeah. Okay. So Raw would air, like Femme Nikita would air, and then they'd do a replay for the folks that didn't catch it.
Wow.
I would watch Raw and then stay up late and watch the replay of Nitro, or vice versa. Kind of looking at the landscape of things. World champion is Shawn Michaels after winning the Iron Man match. The Intercontinental Champion is Goldust. World Tag Team Champions are the Smoking Guns. Do we want to kick it off? Do we want to start talking about Raw and Nitro from June 10th, 96?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's Monday Night Raw from June 10th, 1996. Again, we're at the Cumberland County Memorial Auditorium. I think this is the second or third show that aired from that building. In the opening graphic, they didn't even mention where they were. It was just Vince, hyping everything up.
Yeah.
So they go back and they talk about Ultimate Warrior, and Lawler had the frame picture and all that stuff. They were going to have a frame picture. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Lawler is going to present the Ultimate Warrior with a framed picture that he did. He drew a picture of the Ultimate Warrior to kind of show that there's no hard feelings and that he's apologetic. Yeah. We get Yokozuna versus Owen Hart. This got my 1 count. This was a King of the Ring qualifier. This is at a time when Yokozuna weighed 600, and this is what Vince said. He weighed 666 pounds.
Do you think that's real? Like, totally real?
I don't know. I don't know. But he was indeed at this point the biggest he had ever been. He was booked through the end of this month, but allegedly, and this is from the Observer, that he'll be given some time off at the end of the month to get his weight problems under control. It was, yeah, and what happens next, right? So this match was a lot of fun, a lot of heel babyface stuff. Jim Cornette jabs Yokozuna in the throat with his tennis racket. Crowd is still chanting Brett. Brett's off. This is the start of Brett being bitter in the WWF, which is just like, oh my gosh, we're at that point where, we've already had Brett and Owen. Owen's now a full-blown heel. He's fighting his, former tag team partner. He's got Jim Cornette. He's in with Davey Boy. It's just such a fun time. But anyway, Owen ends up putting Yokozuna in a like a small package kind of thing, but ends up putting his feet on the ropes to support all that weight, and pins him. About 3 minutes and 57 seconds. But at the end, they showed Yokozuna in the back talking about how he needs to, he got beat by Owen Hart. Like, come on. I got beat by Owen Hart. I think I just need to go away for a while. So he's going to be off TV, essentially, and we won't really see that much of Yokozuna moving forward. King of the Ring is already sold out, and they've got, they got 2 weeks until they're going to be airing that. 8,572 tickets at around $139,000. Now, something that's interesting, before we get to the next match and more into the show, they show footage of a live event from the Rosemont Horizon. It was one of the biggest house shows in the U.S. at that point in 1996. I want to read the card from this house show. June 9th, 1996, 13,650 people at the Rosemont Horizon. Justin Bradshaw beat Barry Horowitz. The New Rockers beat Aldo Montoya and Duke the Dumpster Drose. Savio Vega beat Owen Hart. Mark Marrow beat Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Ultimate Warrior beat Vader. Smoking Guns beat the Godwins. Davey Boy Smith beat Ahmed Johnson. Steve Austin beat Jake the Snake Roberts. The Undertaker beat Mankind. They were touching at live shows, folks. And here's what's interesting. Shawn Michaels beat Goldust. Shawn is the champion, the world champion. Goldust is the Intercontinental champion. I just thought that was kind of interesting that they would have, because typically now they'll have the Intercontinental champion defend their title at a live event. And they'll have the world heavyweight champion defend. They'll have the universal champion defend their title in like a, tables match or whatever. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. They also had Shawn with the click cam.
Of course.
They were already calling it the click. Anyway, Mark Marrow and Sable take on Skip from the Body Donnas. Tap out. This was my tap out. Yeah. This was absolutely horrible. I don't remember Mark Marrow being this bad of a wrestler.
You mean the spinning all the time?
Oh, just like that. Just like shaking his head.
He's the wild man.
He's the wild man, Mark Marrow. What am I doing? Anyway, it's not worth mentioning, not worth talking about. Mark Marrow advances, yada, yada. The Sega Saturn Slam of the Week. All right.
Mm-hmm.
With 3 32-bit processors. Like, I thought that was just so rad. Like, 32-bit processors. I just got a freaking router with a 1.gigahertz processor in it. Like, it blows my mind. We get an Ultimate Warrior segment. Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler in the ring. They introduce the Ultimate Warrior. Comes out wearing a baseball cap.
Yeah.
This was the first, last, and only time Warrior wore a baseball hat. And it was because he was concerned that the glass would mess him up somehow. I just like, why not just come out in street clothes, like a leather jacket and jeans, and maybe a beekeeper costume? Lawler, Lawler was great. This was a fantastic segment, but something that was interesting was I actually heard we actually heard some real adult men talking to each other, which we don't hear that much anymore. But Ultimate Warrior was like, "I'm going to kick your ass at King of the Ring." I thought that was like, all right, yeah, that's pretty. And then he hits him with the thing, and Taker, or not Taker, but Ultimate Warrior no sells it and just kind of shakes the ropes and chases everybody away, and we're off, right? Undertaker and Paul Bearer versus Davey Boy Smith. Ringside is Jim Cornette, Owen Hart, and Diana Hart Smith. This got my 3 count of the show, mainly because of all of the things that are happening. Not the match itself, but all the things that are happening in the background. Obviously, we're getting the Undertaker and Paul Bearer over, and showing that he can hang with the world champion, or the number 1 contender in Davey Boy Smith. Yeah. Before the match, Shawn Michaels is interviewed from the WWF studios. Cornette was on commentary. Oh my God, he was amazing. He interrupts Shawn and says that he's got some news that Shawn doesn't know about and that Vince doesn't know about. And apparently this Clarence Mason aggravated assault and battery lawsuit against Gorilla Monsoon had been settled out of court. And in return, Jim Cornette is getting the right to name the special guest referee because of the issues that they had at Beware of Dog. And that he's going to announce who that special guest referee is pretty soon. It's just
next week, in fact.
Yeah, next week. And first off, that's awesome. Remember, like I said earlier, this is like the Stunner debuts next week.
Yeah.
Like Triple H isn't even a thing. The Rock isn't even a thing. Yeah. We just got out of the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. It just blows my mind. Cornette oversold and really delivered on the Undertaker walking the ropes. He was like, he's dead. How could he even do that? It was so good. Owen and Diana Hart were just creeped out by Undertaker. They were like looking at him, and like anytime he'd get close to that side of the ring, they would back up from the apron, just showing again storytelling,
little details,
brilliant stuff. Yeah, little tiny details. Yeah. This would be the last episode of Raw where WWF would win against Nitro in head-to-head ratings until April 1998.
Wow.
This was the last night. Unreal, man. June 10th, 1996. They narrowly beat Nitro. 2.7 to 2.6. Narrowly. And it's about to be over with. And here's why. I want to throw in one quick thing. Shawn Michaels was on the radio in Chicago building up the card for that Rosemont Horizon show we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And the subject of Flair and Hogan got brought up. And Michael said that his idol at one time was Ric Flair. But he also said that some people don't know when it's time to quit.
Wow, he was saying that back then.
He was, yeah. What a turd.
Well, I mean, look, clearly he is his idol because he followed in his footsteps. So.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man. Well, okay. So that was Raw. Overall, it's just so exciting to kind of know that we're in this. We're in it. We're right at the start of all of this battle between WCW and WWF.
You know, what I'm amazed at here is that even at the height of, because I would say the height of Stone Cold Mania wasn't just in 98. Like that was 97 as well.
Yeah.
And they still didn't manage to beat Nitro in ratings.
Well, I mean,
that's crazy.
There's going to be some Raws coming up where Steve Austin is in the ring cutting promos.
Yeah.
And it's you're like, oh man, it's almost there. It's cooking. It's simmering. He's got some of the stuff. We're almost there. Yeah. And I think too, the reality of everything, especially once we get past Great American Bash, once we get to Bash at the Beach, everything in WCW starts going. Whoop, 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 whoop. It just starts building.
Yep.
Because you're looking at something that you probably know is fake.
Yeah.
You probably at this point in 96, at least my age, a lot of people told me like, that's fake, right? Yeah. So, like, come on. JR said it best. They don't teach you how to do that in wrestling school. They don't teach you how to fall off a steel cage. They don't teach you how to take a chair shot to the head in wrestling school. Fun fact, they do. But it's wild. What happened on Nitro that same night? How did
Okay.
that feel? Are you still in love with Nitro?
Yeah, totally. I'm starting to see a few sloppy things here and there. Like I remember that first review that I did, I had no tap outs. Now there's consistently a couple.
Okay.
But it's still great. The action, my 1, 2, and 3 counts make up for that in spades. So
Yeah.
so we are in Wheeling, West Virginia. I had to mention
Hey.
that. Which is, so I'm going to jump right to my 3 count first, and we'll go really blast through the other stuff. The reason I wanted to bring up it was in West Virginia is because my 3 count was right at the end of the show. At the announce booth, Hall comes back out, and remember we're building to his reveal. We're supposed to get a big surprise this week. And sorry to jump around here.
I want to point out one thing. The first match of this episode of Nitro, Scott Steiner and Booker T, they went head to head on the first match on the last episode of Nitro.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer too.
Literally the night where everything changed.
Yeah.
Scott Steiner and Booker T started the night. The night everything changed and everything ended, Scott Steiner and Booker T started the night.
Oh, that's really cool.
Wild.
There you go.
Yeah.
The reason I'm jumping to the end is because I found it very curious that we were in Wheeling, West Virginia, and somehow this still hit. But Hall comes out, and Bischoff says he doesn't want any trouble, but he wants to know where this big surprise is, and gets in his face, and Kevin Nash walks up behind him, takes the mic and says, this show is about as interesting as Marge Schott reading excerpts from Mein Kampf. Okay, so
I forgot about that.
The thing, I was like completely, my mind was blown because I'm like, firstly, we're in West Virginia. What has that got to do with the GM as the Cincinnati Reds? but anyway, maybe do you remember her being in the news or being a big thing at that point in the rest of the country? I don't know.
I don't at all. I mean,
it's super weird, but whatever. Anyway, right. I wanted to jump to that because he said some great quips, but that was strange. The West Virginia to Cincinnati Reds GM thing was strange, but
I mean, you're closer to Pittsburgh at that point,
right? Exactly. But anyway, he said some great things during that promo that they went off the air with, where he said, where's your 3 guys? You couldn't get a paleontologist to get a couple of these fossils cleared. You ain't got enough guys off of dialysis machines to get a team. I mean, it really was awesome stuff. So my 3 count straight away was seeing Kevin Nash there for the first time, and they're still not using their names. They still don't have they haven't defined them in any way. They're just those guys. That keep interrupting. But so jump back to the beginning of the show. We'll go to my 1 count, which you mentioned before. Scott Steiner defeating Booker T in a great. It was a great match. The two of them laid the crap in. They looked like Goliaths going to battle. It was great. It was just really good.
Nice.
And I noticed that they've had Scott Steiner open the show a few weeks in a row, and I think it was really good to have a wrestler of his caliber open the show because it instantly hooks you. I can't get over how good he was. Steiner.
Yeah, and two, it's also kind of like we're at the heels of the Rick and Scott Steiner era,
right?
As far as them being the Steiner brothers,
yep.
And so just his appearance coming out is enough to get people hooked. And two, when he's wrestling Booker T, who is a really, really tall, tough looking dude.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, Harlem Heat had the best entrance music of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course. I mean, later in Nitro's existence, we're going to get a lot of high flying things to start the show. I mean, that we're a couple of years away from that, but yeah, man, smart move.
It was consistently good.
Yeah.
But the his post match celebration was interrupted by Deborah McMichaels at the time.
Yeah.
To say she scared her husband might hurt someone permanently when he gets angry. Cool, whatever, that's fine. They're still building to the Arn Anderson and Flair match with Kevin Green and Mongo Steve McMichael. Next up, we had DDP defeating Jim Powers in a fast-paced match. DDP, he was really good at doing every heel thing. I think the only one that topped him was Flair in a match, but pretty much he was really good at doing all the slimy, tricky things that get you heat with a crowd. He wins in quick fashion with a diamond cutter. They play a video package of the rivalry between Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan and Chris Benoit, just to give us a recap. I put down here, Sting Hogan defeated Meng in a crowd pleaser. I think it's because I'm looking at it from now instead of looking at it from then.
Mm-hmm.
I think had I watched this, I would have enjoyed Sting as much as I enjoyed Hulk Hogan. But he is basically Hulk Hogan for WCW. I know that Hogan is there, but he is the same character.
He's the franchise, man. I mean,
it's the same thing. It's the same three moves that he does, and that's it. He hulks up and he shouts and stuff, and he's the kid pleaser. That's
and he looked
exactly
great. I mean, this is when he's grown his hair out, and that's another thing. I'll reference 83 Weeks with Scott Steiner. They were talking about the transformation, and I think it was either here or the night before, or the week before when they were in Georgia. He asked Sting, he's like, "Hey, no more blonde stuff," and Sting was like, "Nope." He's like, "Did it just like ruin your hair, bleaching it for so many years?" And Sting went, "Yeah, it actually did." They started having a conversation.
That's great. That's fantastic. So anyway, he defeated Meng. Next up, we had Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeating. Yeah, there you go. Defeating Squire Dave Taylor. He gets a measure of revenge for last week's interference. If you remember, Dave Taylor stole the 2x4 out of Duggan's hands, so he couldn't use it in the match, which is weird because I thought Duggan was supposed to be a babyface. But things are starting to get a little blurred with this. But he beat him while using tape. He wrapped tape around his hands and used that to punch him in the head. I don't really understand. I'm not getting that one, but either way, he won and got his revenge. Good for him.
Yep.
A lot of this stuff I'm blasting through because it didn't make my 2 or 3 count. I'm kind of just waiting for the other stuff. So we had the Giant defeating Scott Norton. I will say I'm starting to get a little bored of the Giant already. So this kicked off the second hour of Nitro, which we get a countdown for every show right now, which is where they switched to Bischoff and Heenan on the announce booth instead of Shivani and Zbyszko. I put here, without sounding like a smart fan, I feel like the Giant he was young and just hadn't really learned how to work properly yet. There were a couple of awkward timing spots on his part. He attacks Norton after he gets the win, but Luger comes out to help. They fight to the ramp. Giant goes for a choke slam on the VIP table, but Luger low blows him and then hits him over the head with a champagne bucket, then leaves. Luger then escapes to the announce booth, which was always really funny to me. Like the Giant chased him down the ramp into the entranceway, but Luger somehow manages to make it to the announce booth like 10 yards away without.
Yeah.
No, it's whatever. It's fine. It was silly.
I just think it was kind of interesting because we see Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and now we're getting Lex Luger giving somebody a low blow.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like so fun.
Yeah, there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yep.
Yeah, he escapes the announce booth and gives an intense promo. I give Luger, history gives Luger not great credit with his promos, and there are some doozies for sure. But by today's standards, it's still better.
Yeah,
he's still good. So he's setting up their match. This is the go home show before Great American Bash, of course. As we mentioned before. My kick out was Steven Regal defeating Billy Kidman via submission.
Mm-hmm.
Good match with a cruiserweight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's William Regal, man.
Yeah, which he'll put on a good match with anybody. So that it was good, and a really, really young Billy Kidman, which is cool to see.
He's still in his 20s.
I know, he's still, exactly. Right after the match, Sting is out to antagonize Regal with a quick jab. This is brilliant. A quick jab to the face, and then leaves the ring.
Yes,
it was great. Like was it. That was it. That was all it took, and it shook Regal, which was awesome. That was my kick out. My tap out for the night. The Nasty Boys defeating Public Enemy.
Yeah, man.
In what I called a sloppy, diabetes-ridden chaos fest.
Can I tell you a fun Nasty Boys story?
Sure. It's got to be better than this match. So
it is. It's not. It's kind of like a heartwarming thing. One night, I went with my dad to a WCW house show. And the main event was the Nasty Boys versus, it may have been Public Enemy, it may have been another tag team, I can't remember, but it was definitely the Nasty Boys. But the match was supposed to be a cage match. Well, the cage never showed up. And so the ring announcer comes up, he's like, the cage is not here, so it's now Falls Count Anywhere. Yes. And listen, I had never seen a hardcore match before. All right. I'd never seen ECW. I was probably, 4 feet tall. And I got creeped out, man.
Wow.
Chairs, chair shots to the head. They were fighting and they were getting kind of close to where we were. And I'm like, Dad, let's go. And so we left. That was the main event. We left. And we are, I don't know, like 4 blocks away from where our car was. So I at some point, the whole event must have ended. And we go probably like a half a mile down the road to a Wendy's because I wanted a Frosty because I was a fat kid. In front of us, in a rental town car, are Brian Knobbs, both the Nasty Boys. In the back seat, Johnny B. Bad.
Awesome.
In the drive-through, I asked, I was like, "Hey, if that's the Nasty Boys and Johnny B. Bad, can you get them to sign like a napkin or something?" They signed it.
Oh, that's great.
It was so cool. I don't obviously I don't have that anymore. I'd be like, "Oh, look, it's right here." But I don't. But yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. That was like as close as I could ever get to meeting somebody famous when I was a kid.
That was amazing.
Yeah, good times. Anyway, continue.
I like it. It reminds me, I need to find this, and she'll kill me, but you'll get a pop out of this. My mom actually did all the BGVs on, it was a WrestleMania album. It had, and I'm trying to remember what year this was, but it had Undertaker, Bret Hart, Nasty Boys, Mr. Perfect, Macho Man, like all those when they were all in the WWF. So it had to be before this
4 or 5, yeah.
I got to find this album because that just reminded me. Just seeing the Nasty Boys reminded me of it. But I got to find this and I got to send it to you. But
please,
she sang all over it, which that was at when I first started being a fan. Was like right around
my
there.
gosh.
So, yeah, it
Wow,
was
dude.
killer. So.
That's so cool to meet her at your wedding.
Yeah.
Just super sweet, man.
It was really nice to actually have them there.
Yeah. This happened before the thing, people, by the way.
Yeah.
Where you get weird. Anyway.
It did. Weirdest first year of marriage ever.
You're going to have to be with each other all day.
Oh. Anyway. So real quick, there is another Hulk Hogan package, which they've been playing a lot. Then a package of Macho Man coaching Mongo and Green, which was fun. And I didn't write down here. I should probably mention that this week was the first teaser. I don't know what you would call it. Not a trailer, but vignette for Glacier.
Oh,
so it was the first time that you see that teased.
Dude.
Yeah, and in all of its Mortal Kombat glory, which is awesome.
I used to think that was so dope when the snow would fall and he would do like karate in the middle of the ring and then not do any karate during the match.
Right. Of course.
Like, why are you throwing a forearm, dude? You just did a spin kick.
Yeah. And now Sting's Glacier, I guess maybe Sting is Glacier's father. That's where he gets like the snow from. I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was the dandruff.
This brings me to my 2 count. My 2 count is the main event: Luger and Sting versus Flair and Arn Anderson. This ends in a disqualification, and yet it's still got my 2 count when the Giant interferes. There was just so much going on. You'd expect this kind of thing to happen going into a pay-per-view because we want to get all your main eventers involved, knowing that Luger and the Giant are going to be facing each other for the World Heavyweight Championship, with Flair and Arn obviously in a match with Mongo and Green, but they're not going to be on the show, so you want to get them all involved. Steiner is out. And of course, the Steiner brothers are going to be competing at the Great American Bash too. So Scott Steiner is out after the Giant interferes and ends the match in DQ. And he and Sting hit the Giant with a chair. Then Luger, Steiner, and Sting stand tall as they push him out the ring. And that's right before we go to the announce booth. So to me, that's the type of thing that would usually end Monday Night Raw or like from today and going into a pay-per-view. So the coolest part was to have that not be the end of the show. The end of the show was still like Bischoff, Hall, and the debuting Kevin Nash, which is just awesome to me. Like that's it. What a cliffhanger,
well, and two, it was always like whenever they would end the match, especially now, the end of the show is either a babyface or a heel is in the ring, or a babyface and a heel is on the entrance ramp, and they're like, "I'm gonna get you, but this show's over and we're out of time. But I'm gonna be pissed off in this ring or pissed off on this ramp." And man,
it's so formulaic.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to. Give me something, please. Give me something different, right? Yeah. Why do we watch NASCAR? Yeah, turn 3, folks. Turn 3.
Yeah,
there's a big wreck in turn 3, and come on. Yeah. Or nail biters, right? Tension, release. That's what makes a great song. Like this was so much fun when Nitro would end this way, where you would go back to Heenan and Bischoff, and you're just sitting there going, like, are they going to come out? Where are they?
Where are they?
They got to be there.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
But that concludes the June 10th, 96 episode of Monday Night Nitro.
Unbelievable times. Let's talk about Great American Bash after a quick break. Trolling the Territory, episode 9. We're almost to 10 episodes. If you've gotten this far, before we take a break, go rate and review and do all that stuff. Follow us on the interweb. Google the internet, folks. Google the internet.
Google the internet.
All right.
I can't wait to talk about Great American Bash.
I need a refresher in more ways than one. All right, we'll be right back. Here's a guitar riff. All right, and we're back. And now we're going to talk about the Great American Bash from June 16th, 1996. Leigh, take it away, brother.
All right, I'm so excited for this. I just want to say I really enjoyed this.
Was this your first WCW pay-per-view from start to finish?
Yep.
Get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
These are all firsts for me. I never watched any of this stuff. I just watched the highlight reel, basically, from other sources, which were very biased.
Sure.
And let me mention again, because I mentioned this last week, if anybody knows of any other link other than Daily Motion for these full episodes and full pay-per-views, man.
You're not watching them on Peacock?
No, because I was afraid that they were going to edit out a lot of Chris Benoit stuff. So
that's fair.
So
yeah.
Now if they're not, then I guess I can watch them. I hadn't even tried it.
I don't know if that. I don't think that's a thing.
Okay, so maybe he's on there.
Yeah, I mean they haven't. There was a minute there when, like back on the network, you could select which match you wanted to watch.
Yeah,
and there were like little like on your buffer timeline, there were like links to matches. They would never link Chris Benoit matches. They would still show them, but they wouldn't link them. You could still watch the segments with Chris Benoit, but
okay. Well, then I'll check it out. I just by default didn't, because I assumed that they would edit everything with him out. So then let me do that. I'll check it, because
they're not editing out some of the stuff that Jerry the King Lawler said on the June 17th episode.
Good point. Fair enough. Yeah, because it would certainly improve the quality of the videos that I'm watching.
Yeah.
All right. So we open with a rundown from Shivani and Dusty Rhodes on commentary for this very special night, which is awesome to see him in that position. He does say baby a lot.
Baby.
Baby.
Baby. You're about to get a lot more Dusty.
Yeah.
On Nitro.
I hear, which I'm all about it. I love him.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They show respect for the passing of Dick Murdoch, who just passed away this week, which I didn't realize he was as young as he was.
Yeah, I don't really know that much about Dick Murdoch. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, a legend in the business, and I believe both shows paid their respects, which we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
We immediately get to my one count. It's Fire and Ice. That's Ice Train and Scott Norton versus the Steiner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, every punch or forearm or even hold just looked rattling from these guys. Like it looked painful, and it was awesome. They laid everything in. It looked like a real men fighting. Said instantly, I'm reminded of why matches back then were way more exciting. It's believability.
Yeah,
it looks like a real fight. It doesn't insult your intelligence. The pace was about a 5 out of 10, with a few well-placed faster spots that you appreciate because it didn't happen that much. At one point, Norton hits his finisher, then an arm bar. Rick then continuously kicks him in the head to try and break up the submission, but it takes a bunch of kicks in a row, which I thought was a really cool spot. He just wouldn't let up on this on this submission. It was a cool spot. Only high spots came at the end of the match. Imagine that. Fire and Ice Fire and Ice go for a diving clothesline, kind of a reverse Steiner Bulldog on Rick. Scott pushes Ice Train off balance. Rick jumps on off Norton's shoulders and plants him. Ice Train hits him with a double axe handle smash from the second rope to Rick, which Ice Train also sells. Like kind of knocks him off balance too.
Yeah,
Steiner Brothers with a diving Bulldog to Norton. Pin broken up by Ice Train. Scott calls for the Frankensteiner, his spinning move, pushes him off, gives him an Irish whip into the Frankensteiner, hits it, gets the pin while Rick keeps Ice Train occupied. I thought it was a great match.
I want to point out one thing from, again, 83 Weeks with Scott Hall. Anything that happened in any match, producers would get together and agents would get together, and if one person did a big move, nobody else did it the rest of the night.
Yeah. And you can tell that. And honestly, without even hearing that interview, you can tell it just didn't just go for moves. That went for everything from pacing of the match.
Continuity, man.
Like you could tell every match that led up to the main event on this pay-per-view, the pacing it got faster. It didn't just start at 100 miles an hour so that you were exhausted midway through the pay-per-view, you know? So there was a quick backstage interview from Mean Gene. Oh, this is the other thing too. I like this.
Okay.
Every interview was backstage for the pay-per-view.
Oh, that's awesome.
There was nothing on the ramp. And so by design, it feels different. So there's a different feel already, you know? Just a simple change like that. That's it. Every interview came from the same place. Same spot from
That's
from
so
Mean
cool.
Gene. So there's a quick interview from Mean Gene with Taskmaster and the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Let me ask something. But what are your thoughts? You didn't see much Kevin Sullivan because he didn't really do anything in WWF.
No.
What are your thoughts of Kevin Sullivan?
After tonight, great.
Okay.
I didn't really know much about him going into this, so I was just looking at kind of the highlight reels on Nitro showing me about him, and then the occasional match. He seemed like just another guy, you know.
Okay.
Obviously knows how to wrestle. Was good at what he did, but I wasn't particularly impressed with his promos or anything like that. He didn't stand out to me.
You know what's crazy? He was booking a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and that's I do know that from listening to Cornette, but
he's just like he had a podcast with it was on the MLW network. I can't remember the guy who co-hosted it with him. But Kevin Sullivan's brain for professional wrestling is up there. I mean, a lot of people, talked about Dusty's booking, Vince's booking, Pat Patterson's booking. Kevin Sullivan, man, I wish he was doing more of his podcast. I think he's doing a lot of stuff with Brian Last now.
Gotcha.
Which is exciting. And hopefully he gets another show going. But I asked a question one time about merch splits and what was Hogan's cut of all merchandise. And he was like, it was pretty much like 60 to 70% of all merchandise that was sold went back to Hogan. Even Scott Hall said to this day, he makes six figures a year off of N.W.O merch. I couldn't believe that it was that high of a percentage of merch. And to Scott Hall still making six figures a year off of merch.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Insane.
All right.
Next up, we had Conan versus El Gato for the U.S. heavyweight title. So my biggest take from this match was that it was a wrestling match first.
Mm-hmm.
And a Lucha Spot Fest second.
Okay.
There were submissions, there were holds, and of course there were some jumps and corner spots and kicks, but they were used sparingly. They spent a good amount of time on the mat. It's easy, but it's easy to see why Conan was a star. He's really impressive looking. It's like Tito Ortiz fighting with like Lucha Flair.
Okay.
Which. And that's what he looks like to me. He just looks like a UFC star that knows how to do all the lucha stuff.
Right.
So there was one spot to the outside, just one in the match.
Wow.
I know, right? It's just insane. It's just crazy. With Conan reversing a move on the ropes into a powerbomb to the outside floor, which, because there was only one of them, it meant something, and it looked super painful. The win comes with the only spot off the corner of the top turnbuckle. It's almost
interesting.
It's almost like someone is booking the whole show and not just moment to moment.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Imagine that.
Conan catches Elgato, and Alabama slams him from the turnbuckle into a flip over pin. Awesome.
I want to make sure that people understand we're not poo-pooing on spot fests, right? What we're pointing out is that if it means something, then do it.
Right.
And if it doesn't interfere with everything else that's being presented, don't insult my intelligence. You doing a backflip off the top rope on top of 3 guys that are waiting to catch you doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. And
it means that you know how to do a backflip onto 3 guys that can catch you in the middle of what's supposed to be simulated combat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems legit.
Don't insult my intelligence. Yeah, it's hard for it to not sound like you're insulting spot fest, because by nature that's the thing, is how do you make, if you can make a spot fest look believable, then I'm not going to shit on it. And that's the challenge. But anyway, we have a Sting interview up next, backstage. He loses his train of thought and hands it back to Gene halfway through.
That's awesome.
Which is great. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it just goes to show the live nature of these promos. He covered it pretty well. I will say he covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Out next, we have DDP. He's out for the Lord of the Ring match versus Marcus Bagwell. Do you remember this Lord of the Ring thing?
No.
So he's actually had a ring that dubbed him the Lord of the Ring, and it's on the line for anyone that wants to beat him. They didn't really make a big deal out of this, but I mean,
I wonder why.
I know, yeah.
Dude's fighting over jewelry.
Yeah,
seems legit.
Yeah, exactly.
I want that chain wallet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
DDP cheap shots Bagwell while he's taking his shirt off to get ready. This is a good back and forth, another hard-hitting match. Everything looks laid in. It's faster paced because of DDP. I'd say this is more like a 6 out of 10 as opposed to a 5 out of 10. Again, DDP with all of the heel tricks.
Yeah, man.
Everything he does. Dusty saying that Bagwell needs to take a risk with a power move like a drop kick. Let that sink in, sir.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of that. Unravel that.
who had, in your opinion, off the top of your head, who had the best drop kick?
In this show?
No, in general, in professional wrestling. Who do you think had the best drop kick?
Oh, ever. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I would probably say Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. He had the best a lot of stuff.
91, 92, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
But yeah, I mean, everything he did was freaking perfect. Yeah. I'll have to think about that one. Honestly.
Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to think about that. I don't know.
Either Perfect or Brett or Owen had a great drop kick.
Owen, not Brett. I would say Owen. Owen has to be a contender for sure. His were fantastic. Maybe the two of them, either Owen or Mr. Perfect.
All right.
No sooner does Dusty say this that DDP hits his cutter and 1, 2, 3. So just like that, it's almost like they were setting it up. God, it's just so good how they do this. I just, how do we lose this art? Anyway.
I don't know.
There's another backstage interview. It's kind of like in between each match just to get the ring prepared, I guess.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Mike Tenay joins commentary to call the next one, which I think was great. Okay, so the next up gets my 2 count.
Okay.
It is a cruiserweight championship match. So I like that Mike Tenay came out for this match to give it a different feel.
Yeah, man.
That was great. It is Rey Mysterio Jr., a very fresh-faced, I say that with a mask on, with no tattoos and in pink tights.
Okay. I'm gonna look up a picture of this.
Oh, yeah. Rey Mysterio Jr. While you're doing that, versus Dean Malenko, who is the champion. or the man with 1,000 holds, for the cruiserweight title.
I'm looking at a picture. Wow.
You
He
see
didn't even
that?
have elbow pads on or anything.
Nothing.
And now he's got the kind of like a singlet with the tights.
Right.
Wow, dude.
I mean, he looked like a little boy.
And this is, oh goodness gracious, man. I'm just looking at these pictures here of Ray. Yeah, man. He's got incredible body art.
Now,
Like,
oh, absolutely.
Now, yeah,
I'm excited to see when this transition was starting to happen.
Yeah,
and
man,
how
that's so
fast it happens.
cool. Yep.
Oh,
Hey,
I
real
remember
quick.
that tattoo.
Right. With Mike today, did they ever show him on camera?
No.
Dude, listen, that's the thing that I loved about when Mike Tenay was on announcing. They never showed him.
Yeah, they didn't show him.
It's almost like like in their mind, it's like on the football field. Sometimes you hear from a defensive coordinator in American football, I should say. You're from like a defensive coordinator specialist that's up watching the game. You don't see him.
Yeah.
You just hear him. I love the fact that Mike Tenay was rarely ever shown. And I don't think it was until way later when he actually joined the announce booth with Shivani and Heenan. That was pretty fun. But yeah, I like the fact that he was just kind of like off camera. Love that.
Yeah, it's great, and it had a different feel because of his commentary. This match had a different feel.
Yeah.
It was very cool. So anyway, this gets my 2 count.
Okay.
Obviously, this is going to be a higher pace match. You say anything with Rey Mysterio, and it's going to be, and it's a cruiserweight match, so it should be. But Malenko keeps this match grounded. He still managed to get his 1,000 holds in. So it was well paced. It allows Ray to use his aerial attack sparingly, so they count. Malenko with some punishing offense and holds, but Mysterio won't stay down. Tenay gives us the Mexican history of the surfboard submission, while Malenko applies it and then tosses Mysterio into a bridge pin. At this point, I fucking miss wrestling. This was eventually Ray starts to pick up momentum, a few dive spots to the outside from him, but eventually Malenko catches him in the corner with a turnaround powerbomb, then uses the rope to help with the pin in a dirty move. Great. I really enjoyed it.
The explaining of the history of the surfboard submission, it gives it credibility rather than just being like tope suicida.
Yeah, just
you know what I mean?
Yelling it at me.
Just yelling at me like I'm supposed to know it. Just like you've said before, like, am I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I that obsessed? No, I'm not. I'm watching this week to week.
Yeah.
God, Mike Tenay. I wish he was still in wrestling.
It's just fantastic. Just really, really good.
Yep.
Backstage interview again with Luger this time.
Okay.
Jokingly, I put, I'm starting to realize why they put Luger and Sting together. Maybe they thought that between the two of them, they'd get through one promo smoothly.
10 out of 10 on looks, 5 out of 10 on
I'm giving them a hard time. Again, by today's standards, they're still miles better. So,
Yeah.
I'm comparing them to their counterparts.
Well, even if they couldn't cut a promo, they were booked in a way that's like, well, you don't need a promo.
It didn't matter.
They could
just yell. They could just yell at the mic. It's fine.
Yep.
It's all right. My tap out is up next. It's Bubba Rogers, or Boss Man for earlier or later fans, versus John Tenta. Typical big guy or fat guy match. Bubba took control for a lot of the match after using an illegal object to stun Tenta. I never really caught what the illegal object was. Bubba goes for a dive off the top rope. Tenta catches him, slam, gets the pin. Tenta cuts Bubba's beard for the aftermath. Yeah, I could, whatever. It was like a time filler. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think
Man, Ray Traylor, dude, like,
Yeah, I mean, he was great. Absolutely. I just this program was not the best. You know?
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Seeing these two guys that had worked previously in WWF, um, the Big Boss Man gimmick was awesome. He's going to return back to WWF
right.
and once again, bust that out with the nightstick and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually kind of want to go back and watch that just because it was your tap out.
Do it. Absolutely. But as long as you watch immediately afterwards this fantastic interview segment
Okay.
with Mongo and Green
Uh-oh.
and their wives and Macho Man. So it opens with Kevin Green yelling. I'm not sure I could say this without laughing.
Uh-huh.
He yells the words, "We're coming hard. We're coming heavy. We're not giving an inch. We're coming hard."
You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually, when I go to edit the show, I'm going to pipe that in
Oh,
right
please.
now.
It was so good. It was great. It was, everyone getting hyped up. Great to see Macho Man. I'm, obviously everyone grew up a Macho Man fan. So it was
Of
cool
course.
for me. It was cool for me to see him still in his heyday, in his prime.
Yep.
Because I never got to see him in WCW. So,
Yep.
high spot of the night for
Okay.
me, Chris Benoit. This is a new segment for me because there were so many good things about this pay-per-view. I've created another segment. It's called High Spot.
Okay. So, a high spot is then beating the 3 count.
It's for me. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I'm going to keep it.
It doesn't have to beat it. It could be like another kick out,
Okay.
But high spot for me, because I had to include this somehow, was Chris Benoit versus the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, in a Falls Count Anywhere match. They don't even make it in the ring. Now, the thing is that this wasn't done a lot back then. Like now, I feel like that's every match, every other match in modern wrestling. So this had not been done really. They don't make it in the ring. Benoit attacks in the aisle. They spill into the crowd and they're beating the piss out of each other. Man, does it look like a fight, and everything Benoit does, it just, it's brutal. They climb the stairs and into the concession area. They fight in the men's room. Sullivan slams a stall door on Benoit's head. Yeah, yeah, I know. We can brace over this.
Oh no!
Oh no! Yeah, repercussions, ladies and gentlemen.
I have
other
chills
news,
on my arms.
I know. In other news, Benoit must have had one of the most brutal chops in history.
Okay.
Have you ever watched him deliver any of his chops?
Oh, I have a Chris Benoit story.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Well, you know what? Let me finish this and we'll go to a Chris Benoit. We'll finish the match.
Yeah.
They eventually make their way back down the stairs, but only after Sullivan throws Benoit down a few steps on the way down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was insane. Security have had a hell of a time trying to contain the fans because they were going crazy, especially up in the concession area. There were some fans in the bathroom. There was even a guy with his kid, like a little baby, they're in the bathroom watching this. So I think they're having some issues trying to keep him away from the wrestlers. They make it in the ring eventually, where Benoit sets up a table on top of the turnbuckle. Benoit counters Sullivan's attack and superplexes Taskmaster off the table. 1, 2, 3. Dude, no one even went through the table.
Wow.
They didn't need to do it. It was amazing. After the match, Benoit keeps attacking Sullivan. Arn Anderson comes out, and if we remember, there's been some lead up to Arn Anderson's alliances, whether it was with the Horsemen or whether it was with his old friend Sully. But realigns himself with Benoit, and the Horsemen are back together as he attacks Kevin Sullivan, and that is the end of that match. And it was fantastic. I just had such a great time watching that. So anyway, to your Chris Benoit story.
So I was at the Charleston Town Center, which was the mall in Charleston, West Virginia, back when, goodness gracious, like when malls were a thing.
Yeah.
3 floors, big place. On either side, they had all the anchor stores. They had the Kaufmans, they had the J.C. Penney, they had the Montgomery Ward, they had the what was the other store that was down there? That was the Sears, yeah. And then everything else in between. They had Dev, they had a Hot Topic, they had a CD store. They had a Pottery Barn type thing, purses. But there was this one restaurant down on the end of Kaufman's, and it was like the closest place that you could get food from the Marriott, which is where everybody stayed. There was actually a certain floor had an elevator access to a tunnel that went from the Marriott over to the Charleston Civic Center. So you wouldn't even have to get out on the street to get to wherever you were performing. They built it specifically for Elvis when Elvis played. When he was on this massive tour, they wanted to get Elvis safely to and from the building, so they built this tunnel network to connect with the Civic Center. So, I guess it was a night the WCW was in town. I don't remember. The only thing I remember though is, I'm walking out of the mall looking at the Civic Center, because at the edge of the mall there was a street, and right there was the Charleston Civic Center, and I see Chris Benoit ahead of me as I'm getting to that exit of the mall, and he's walking out of Bennigan's with a plastic bag and like 2 big things of like takeout food. And he's wearing a trench coat. And I was like, he's not as tall as I thought he was. This was like 93, man. Trench coats were a thing. We hadn't.
Oh, no, I had one. I just don't. Trust me, I had one.
It just looked funny.
I have a side story after this about my trench coat. But I just didn't imagine him wearing a trench coat, which is weird.
He was wearing, and you know what? It was. I don't know if it was spring or fall, but it was kind of necessary to have a jacket on, right? But not a trench coat.
Yeah.
And first off, like, if you're flying around, do you really want to haul a damn trench coat around?
Yeah.
Anyway, I run into Bennigan's and I'm like, what did he get? And they were like, who? And I'm like, Chris Benoit, the guy that was just in here. They're like, who? And I'm like, the trench coat. And they're like, oh, he got like 4 orders of broccoli bites. Which, let me tell you something, Bennigan's had the most legit broccoli bites. They were deep fried cheddar and broccoli, like hush puppies almost. They were amazing.
They sound like they taste fantastic, but completely pointless. Like
completely pointless. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to count those on any app. But they were so delicious. You would dip in them. They had like their own special like honey mustard that had a little bit of a kick to it. Oh,
I remember Bennigan's. I used to get the Monte Cristo.
Bro, yeah, dude. Oh my God. I remember my dad used to get that all the time. He would get the Monte Cristo. And finally one day I was like, let me get a Monte Cristo.
Yep.
That was the greatest sandwich.
Yeah, I could never
powdered
ever finish
sugar
it.
on a sandwich. Come on.
I could never finish it. It made me sick every time. You did? That's awesome.
I kind of want to see if anybody in Knoxville's got a Monte Cristo.
I'll tell you what, I could finish it now. I could finish 3 of them. Oh, I'm hungry. Can I tell my side story? It has nothing to do with wrestling.
Please
about
tell
my
your
trench
coat story. Yes.
So when I was 16, I had long hair, and I dyed it black.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
I know. I went through that goth stage. I was listening.
We all did, bro. I had Jinkos.
I listened to a lot of Monster Magnet. It was that
Monster Magnet.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. So
that down.
I had the long. I had the long hair. I tied it up a lot. And I remember this was right before we moved to Orlando. We had one more visit there, and at the time, we had a friend. I had one friend in Orlando, and we decided to go to Universal Studio to City Walk.
Okay,
not to the theme park, but to the City Walk. Which, if you're not familiar with it, it's just where all the bars and the restaurants are before you get to the theme parks. I am wearing my long black leather trench coat with my hair in a ponytail and a sleeveless white shirt underneath that says quite clearly, "Fuck me, I'm famous."
Whoa.
Literally. And so, we're there for a couple of hours. It's on the way out. Security stops me and says, "Hey, we'd really appreciate if you didn't wear that again the next time you came here." And I said, I looked down, and I, honest to God, didn't remember that I was wearing that shirt. I think I just threw on my trench coat and went.
You didn't remember you were wearing a shirt that says "Fuck me, I'm famous."
No, because I wore it a lot. I wore it a lot. You know, like, this is 16-year-old me, man. Like, I'm a mess. Anyway, so
that's incredible.
I didn't remember I was wearing it, and I looked at him and I said, "I'm so sorry. I won't wear this again the next time. I didn't realize that the words
incredible.
That the words were offensive." And he said, "Oh, no. I'm not talking about the shirt. We mean the trench coat."
Whoa.
They were more concerned with the image of Columbine than they were with the curse words on the shirt. And that was the first time that I noticed the real difference between American and UK culture.
Yeah. I mean, look, that happened on April 20th in 1999.
Yeah.
Absolutely unreal.
Yeah. And this was about a year later. So, yep.
Wow.
Anyway. So, moving on.
Yeah,
Okay?
Moving on. Goodness gracious. We're never going to talk about trench coats again.
Never going to talk about it again. Yeah. Speaking of trench coats, Sting. No.
Not soon to be.
Not soon to be, yeah. Next up, we had Regal versus Sting. Regal dominates early on. Sting literally sells the entire match with the occasional Hulk Hogan move. I put this again. Like, he's Hulk Hogan of WCW. That's it. That's for me. He's got the power up, the explosive clothesline, and that's not all his fault. I think that's just the way that he's booked. Eventually, Sting gets momentum for no reason, hits his 3 moves of doom, submits Regal with the Scorpion Deathlock. Crowd goes nuts. They love it because, he's a crowd pleaser. He is the franchise.
He's a complete baby face. Yeah. Regal is a complete heel.
Absolutely.
Nothing else needs to happen.
Nothing else. Nothing else did happen. Nothing else needs to happen. And that's it. It's not for me, but it's not for me now. It would have been for me then.
Yes.
We are on to my 3 count after this.
Okay.
It is the tag team grudge match announced by Michael Buffer is out. And he announces it as Legends. Oh, yeah. Legends of the Gridiron versus Legends of Wrestling. Flair and Anderson with Miss Elizabeth and Woman, and Bobby Heenan versus Steve Mongo McMichael, Kevin Green with their wives Deborah and Tara, and Macho Man Randy Savage. What a great spectacle match!
I'm covered in bumps at the moment.
It was fantastic. As you'd expect, there was a lot of posturing and posing, but the crowd is eating it up. Not really a wrestling match for the first half of the match, anyway, but that's understandable. They really, really take their time so they can sell everything Mongo and Green does. At least that's what I thought. It's exactly what you'd expect from this match to begin with, like a total spectacle with lots of outside interference from Macho Man and the ladies. At one point, Mongo puts Flair in the figure 4, and then Green puts Arn in 1-2. Woman and Elizabeth chase off the football wives, and Flair and Arn have taken control. Now they're working over Mongo Horseman tag style, which was great. To my surprise, it actually becomes a toe-for-toe tag match, which I didn't expect. They're giving... I mean, obviously, you can tell that Green, more so than Mongo, is not a wrestler, but he's getting in a lot of moves, which you wouldn't expect. It's not just football tackles, They're doing a lot. So Benoit comes out, and he's out to neutralize Macho Man. Then suddenly, Deborah is back out in an evening gown, having worn a completely different outfit earlier. But she's out without Tara, Kevin Green's wife. She's flanked by woman and Miss Elizabeth carrying a briefcase. That silver old metal briefcase that they had running around.
what was that called? Oh man, there was like a fun name to it.
I forget. All I know is it wasn't one of those padded Samsonite ones. It was an old metal one.
Oh man.
Nope.
I can't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Letting all these ads pull up here as I'm just trying to figure out what in the hell it was.
That's funny. Well, anyway, while we're trying to figure that out, they open up the briefcase, and there is a ton of cash in it, which Deborah presents to her husband on the outside and tells him to take the money, think about the money. In a twist, Mongo then smashes Kevin Green over the head with the suitcase, and Flair gets the pin. Macho Man gets in Mongo's face, but the odds are too much for him. Flair with a delicate suitcase shot to Macho's head. They talk about how these guys really laid in on each other. I'm sorry, but they were really delicate when it came to any type of prop shot or furniture. Especially around the head. Like, I mean, it was almost comical how soft they hit each other when it came to that type of thing. To cap off this great spectacle tag match, Mongo is officially the fourth horseman, and awesome.
Hell yeah,
really good. Did you find it? Did you find that?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm looking up. I'm looking up WWF briefcase in 90s. I honestly can't find it.
That's fine. It's like old metal briefcase.
That's a good idea.
Is it something that they called it specifically in wrestling, or is it something that they just in general?
It's a brand. It's like a brand name.
Okay.
Halliburton.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Halliburton, the Zero Halliburton. There it was. It was the industry standard.
I'm glad that you found this because that was going to drive you nuts.
Oh my gosh. I was like getting pissed. I'm like, what was it called?
I love it.
You can buy their carry-on luggage for $550.
Oh, good. Cool. All right. I won't be doing that, but anyone else can do that for sure if you have just that laying around. That brings us to my kick out of the night.
All right.
Pan to Bischoff on the top of the ramp. This is what gave me chills. This is awesome. Talking about the interruptions from Hall and Nash the previous weeks, but still won't call them by name. Calls them out to give them an answer. On the answer of which I'm speaking is of their three guys, of WCW's three guys that they have asked Bischoff to come up with, or billionaire Ted to come up with to face off in their war. Bischoff says they're going to get a war inside the ring at Bash of the Beach on July 4th, which I always thought to myself, why wasn't Great American Bash on July 4th?
Well, the Great American Bash tour was during the entire month of July. And it wasn't just a pay-per-view. It was like the like you would have the Super Summer Sizzler tour, the Great American Bash tour. Yeah, all of that stuff was just like a month long. They were essentially doing the same towns and the same arenas. I could be totally wrong on that, but that's what it sounds like when I hear Shivani and Jim Ross and everybody talk about it.
So when they say Bash of the Beach, it's like still part of the Great American Bash family of pay-per-views.
No, Bash of the Beach was something that was completely different. Once they started doing that, that was more of like I think that was a Hogan thing in conjunction with Thunder in Paradise. I could be wrong. I don't know.
All right. Well, I guess that's what I meant. What I mean is like at this point, why are they not switched? You know,
I don't know.
Great American Bash, July 4th. That would have been, it's just no brainer for me. But
I'm not even American.
I'm not exactly. Well, I am now.
You are, but
I am.
you know,
I know. He asked both of them straight up, "Do you work for WWF?" They both say no. Then Hall says the "forget about the past" line. Forget about the past. We want to know who your three guys are. And he says the big man, the medium-sized man, and our surprise buddy are going to carve them up.
Yeah, man.
Hall asks again who they'll be facing. Bischoff says he can't tell them, but he'll tell them tomorrow night on Nitro. Hall gets pissed, kicks Bischoff in the stomach, and Nash jackknifes him off the ramp through a padded floor that would make Jericho proud.
Bischoff taking a bump here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It was great.
Yeah,
it hadn't really been done because he was just an announcer. Like none of this stuff had been done yet. So
he's taking bumps before Vince is.
Yes, and it's hard to appreciate it because it's just everything has been overdone these days. So it's hard to appreciate how innovative that was, because it just had never been done before. It was shocking. Yeah. In fact, I think, and we'll get to this in just a second, in the main event, there was a lot of silence, and I think that the crowd were kind of reeling from what they just saw. But anyway, Hall says the real big boys just left the building as they both exit stage left. Officials tend to Bischoff, and he's eventually stretchered out.
Man.
Dusty talks about how uncalled for that was, as Shivani goes to tend to Bischoff and check on him. So Dusty's left by himself for a second at the announce booth. Another small, cool detail. I like that.
That's awesome.
And he really sells the whole concept of guys coming in and out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did I write this, or did you edit my note that says coming in and out of guys?
I don't know. Maybe we were thinking about something else.
I meant like guys coming in and out.
Something.
I do kind of wish the WWF question hadn't been asked yet. I feel like
why?
It was unnecessary. If you're not mentioning them by name, you're not saying anything. You're still building up this idea that they might not be working for this company. Like it didn't really need to be said. That's the only thing that kind of stuck out to me. And I don't know if it was for legal reasons that they had to do it. But that was my only thing about it. It didn't take away from anything. I kind of wish that hadn't been asked yet.
Well, I think what I think it kind of calmed it down from being like this massive like shoot feel, right?
Yeah.
To kind of be like, no, we don't work for Vince anymore, because this was pre 90-day non-competes.
Sure.
And they literally left, Scott Hall left Madison Square Garden and got picked up by Eric Bischoff in his wife's red Jaguar.
Yeah.
Like it was just straight to the next one. And both of them, like the creative wasn't even decided upon.
No.
They hadn't talked.
No,
they hadn't had a conversation.
And they were shooting, and you could tell that question to me felt like Bischoff was shooting from the hip.
I just like it that they were acknowledging the competition. They were entering that. I mean, as much as it was kind of killing the spectacle, they were also introducing like, hey, we know they exist.
Yeah.
Like we know they exist.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, they've done that a few times though. Like at least in the episodes that I've watched. I mean, they're alluding to it,
Yeah.
Just storyline wise, that's all. I just feel like it would have been just as impactful to feel like, hey, do these guys still work for them? And not to not know yet. you know?
Right.
It didn't have
Yeah.
to be laid out as plain, but like we said, this could have been for legal reasons here. So
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, we get to our main event, which is Luger versus the Giant.
Boring.
It was.
I didn't even see it. I'm just telling you. It doesn't sound like something like that. Not even years later, would really mean anything.
I get why they put the belt on the Giant, even as young as he was and as green as he was. I get why, because it's just a spectacle, and he's a literal mountain to climb. That's okay, right. Cool. I get all the visuals, but it's just not very interesting. In comparison to all the other stuff that's happening on the show, it's just not very interesting. So this is obviously for the World Heavyweight title. Luger checks on Bischoff on his way to the ring, which you don't get little details like that anymore either.
Right.
He looked concerned. So Luger takes it to the Giant from the get-go. You can tell they're going for a Hogan-Andre vibe. Luger tries to put the Giant to sleep, but Giant reverses and hangs Luger up on the ropes, then takes control of the match. He even starts to ragdoll him a little bit. Luger tries to come back with a slam, but it's too much for him. The Giant falls on top of him for a 2 count. At this point, the crowd isn't into this, but might still be reeling from the previous segment, and I think that's important to note. Again, this was shocking. It's nothing like that had been seen before. But it is noticeable when the Giant is in control. Is usually when the crowd is more dead. As Luger gains momentum, crowd starts to come alive again. Has Giant across the top rope, top turnbuckle, and goes for the rack because it's easily set up, but it's too much, and drops him on his own head.
Oh God.
Yeah. Giant, and then so after that, it's kind of like the writing on the wall. Giant hits his choke slam and retains the belt, and then it's a really quick end. Like now I'm watching this on Daily Motion. This isn't on Peacock, so like it's not like the edited version. It's like I watch it in real time how they end the pay-per-view. It was like that was it. There was no aftermath. There was no celebration segment from the Giant. It was a quick snap to credit. Like, all right, good night.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there was more stuff planned. Maybe they had to get out of there really quick.
Yeah, run out of time.
Yeah, like hit the finish. Overall, what were your thoughts of the pay-per-view? If you had to give it a 10 out of 10 with 9 out of 10, what would you give it?
8.5.
Really?
Yeah.
When was the last time you watched any current pay-per-view and would give it that high of a rating? Back when the Hardy Boys debuted at WrestleMania?
I'm not even sure that I would give that an 8.5, maybe a 7. It was it had to be a WrestleMania and from not too long ago. I'm sorry, from years ago. I can't see no matches would jump out to me, man. Like there's no like card where I'm like, that one was fantastic that whole night. And I'm probably gracing over some really good moments, but I don't know. That's a really tough one. There are great moments now. In the last 10 years, there are great moments, and sometimes really great matches, but there's never just a complete great card. At least not an 8.5 card. And I enjoyed this because, again, 8.5 out of 10 was fantastic, and that 1.5, I'll take that. If everything was 8.5, I would love wrestling again.
Yep.
So,
well, do you want to do this? Do you want to do Nitro now from the following night?
Just roll right into it.
Just roll right into Nitro,
and then we can talk about Raw's answer.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't really an answer. Wasn't really an answer.
Wasn't really.
Nope.
Okay, fine. Let's do it. Boom. Nitro, the night after, coming to you from Richmond, Virginia. It's important to note that Nitro is on high alert after the Great American Bash attack on Bischoff. Okay, this is right at the top of the show. Shivani lets us know. We open with another Steiner match. This time it's Rick Steiner versus Stevie Ray. In a decent singles match. The win came after Stevie Ray misses a second rope elbow drop. Steiner clotheslines him and pins him with a heavy hook of the leg. We do not see that anymore in wrestling. Okay, like that was it. He rolled on top of him a little heavier than usual, and they even kind of briefly mentioned that too. It didn't look like a mistake. That's what happened. Yeah. Booker T comes out immediately to attack and double team Rick as Booker goes for a splash off the top rope. Scott Steiner runs out and uses his own body to shield his brother.
Wow.
And then later on, you see this because Steiner is wrestling later. He actually wrestles the Giant in the, I believe it's the main event.
Wow.
He has his ribs taped up from that
spot.
Oh,
gosh. Continuity.
Oh,
my goodness. You can't even get Dean Ambrose to sell the right arm.
Exactly. We are immediately brought to my tap out.
Okay.
Joe Gomez, whoever that is, defeating Disco Inferno. I put, God, I hate this guy. I'm really glad that the crowd mostly agrees with me, which I don't know if Disco Inferno was supposed to be a heel yet or a babyface, but it seemed like this particular crowd in Richmond weren't into him. I think I'd appreciate it more if he didn't just look like a gym rat character from Dick Tracy, got given a dance gimmick, even though he has no natural rhythm or fluid dance moves. So it's just like, hey, find something for this guy. I hate him. I freaking hate this guy. Anyway, Joe snuck the win with a crucifix pin. Disco once again told the camera, at least I can still do this, and dance badly and out of time. Great. Moving on. Interview with... we have an interview with Deborah, Flair, Woman, and Miss Elizabeth. I love that Flair's just with all the women. Gene is disgusted with Deborah. And he lets her know. I love it. But no one appears to show any remorse. Great. Shivani and Zbyszko announced that there will be a drawing out of the 6 singles wrestlers with the best win-loss record later tonight to decide the 3 that will face Hall, Nash, and their buddy at Bash at the Beach.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes.
I didn't know that's how that got decided upon.
Yep. They do it. And they also announced this will be in the second hour, and they'll announce that Shivani is actually going to be in the second hour announcing too, because Bischoff obviously is injured and out since his attack. And they're going to they show a little bit. They show the first half of the Scott Hall attack, but they don't show the full thing. They said they're going to show it later. So it's like they're even even splitting up video package,
dude,
to tease, to get ratings for the second hour, which it's just great. That's awesome.
That's so rad.
Not done anymore at all.
No.
This next matchup is my 3 count. Anderson and Benoit defeating the American males. My God.
American males.
I know.
American males.
Yeah, right, exactly. Dude, my God, what a good tag match. I feel like history doesn't give enough credit to Bagwell. He was a good tag wrestler. All anyone really remembers is his gaffes. Whether you liked the gimmick of American males or not, he did his part really well.
Yeah.
They put on a really good match. I put, we all know anyone would look mediocre next to Benoit anyway. Zabisco even calls him crisp at commentary. I love that. So good. Everything he gives looks so painful, and equally anything he takes. He is really good. My God, I don't remember him being this good in WWE, WWF, or whatever. Benoit gets the win with a pin in the Horseman's Corner, where Arn may or may not have helped out with a little outside, with a little outside of the ref's view by holding Bagwell's feet. Great match, awesome. That gets my 3 count for the night. Next up, we have a rubber match between John Tenta and Barbara Rogers. like the last thing I want to see. Jimmy Hart tries to get involved and gets a giant atomic drop for his troubles. For some reason, Tenta put his foot on the ropes to help him pin Baba after he gave him 2 finishers. So, like, he gave him the first finisher, but didn't cover him, and then took his time and gave him another one, but then still felt he had to put his foot on the ropes to pin him, which I didn't understand. I thought he was supposed to be the baby face here. That didn't make any sense to me. After Baba hits Tenta in the face with a sock full of quarters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Post-match,
roll of quarters, brother.
Roll of quarters. There you go. Post-match interview with Baba where he calls Tenta a fat piece of trash. It says,
oh, that's awesome.
He beats him every time he gets in the ring with him, which he's lost the last 2 matches. So that was great. He saved the entire segment, just the interview did. Again, I could do without seeing any of that anymore. I'm good. I want to see Ray Traylor with someone else now.
Right.
Randy Savage is up with a super weird interview, like they usually are. I don't even know.
Was this one backstage or was this one on the ramp?
This is backstage.
Okay.
I don't even know what he's talking about, but it's just great to hear him talk.
Yeah.
Then a match to kick off the second hour. As Macho Man is coming out on the ramp, that's when the countdown erupts into the second hour of.
Oh, it's so badass.
Yep, it's awesome. Macho Man then to cap off. It was so good to kick off the second hour. He chases Heenan away from the announce booth and around the ring, which was fantastic. So good. This next match gets my 2 count.
Okay.
It's Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ric Flair. Which, can we just take that in?
Yeah, I don't know how many times they fought, especially on free TV.
Exactly.
So wild.
So awesome to see this, to get to watch this for the first time.
Yeah.
Flair starts off the match with a promo on Savage, tells him he's suffering defeat, anguish, and divorce as he kisses Miss Elizabeth's hand.
Oh my God. I need to go back and watch that.
It's so good. Savage said he's going to kick his ass, and we're underway. An intense fight spills outside and to the VIP table. Savage shoves food in Flair's face, hits him on the table. Then Savage grabs a bottle of champagne, shakes it up, at which point Shivani says twice, "A little bit of the bubbly."
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. He says twice in a row as he pours it on Flair. I guess Jericho wasn't the first to use the phrase in wrestling. Who knew?
We're going to drop that in right here.
Yep.
Wow. They're
back in the ring fighting. Then Flair sucks. Flair is to the outside, where Savage misses a top turnbuckle axe hammer and hits the railing instead. It looked like a painful spot. Some great back and forth, then Flair backs into the corner, makes the ref back Savage up, at which point he takes knuckle dusters out of his boot and nails Savage with a right hand. It gets a 2 count, and Flair argues with the ref. Savage.
Oh, wow.
This is just great stuff. Savage knees him from behind while he's arguing, and it knocks the ref out of the ring. Savage takes the opportunity to low blow Flair, then hits his flying elbow twice, despite the second one being protested with all three ladies in the ring. At this point, Benoit comes out but gets a pile driver instantly. I was like, what is happening? This is fantastic. Arn comes out but gets tossed out the ring, which is important. I thought that was a really important detail. How Benoit gets a pile driver, but Arn gets tossed out of the ring. There is a reason why. Mongo comes out and he has the briefcase. And he hits Savage with it twice over the head. Arn throws the ref back in the ring. So I feel like the person booking this said, if you give Arn, if you just toss him out the ring, he will have his wherewithal, his wits about him to throw the ref back in. You can't give someone a pile driver and then expect them to get back up a few seconds later and throw ref back in. So again, little details like that.
Good night.
Yeah, exactly. So the ref gets thrown back in. Flair covers him for the win. Four Horsemen stomp Macho Man while he's down to end that match and that segment. Just so goddamn good.
Good Lord.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Next up, we got another backstage Gene interview with Jimmy Hart, the Giant, and Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan. Gene talks about the cliques developing in WCW, which Bischoff has been talking about this week.
There's a lot of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, exactly.
All the cliques, yeah.
Yep. And uses the term outsiders for the first time. It's the first time we hear that.
Ooh.
So I didn't realize it was Gene that coined the term. Whether he wrote it or not, I don't know, but he used it first.
Interesting.
And then he uses it again later too. The Dungeon of Doom challenged the Horsemen. They not to an official match, but at least lays the challenge out there. Says that the Giant says anyone in the Dungeon of Doom could beat any one of the Horsemen. Says if you're the best, then why aren't one of you the heavyweight champion? Which is good question.
Probably because you're booking.
Yeah, fair enough. I love it. There is a commercial for the Northern Invasion as WCW toured the Northern States for the first time, starting in Hartford, Connecticut. Now, that must have been a huge deal back then. So I felt like I really had to, that had to sink in for me. I'm like, wow. You're gonna
I wonder if that made it to the network because you're still watching this on Daily Motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. We're going to have to go back and check.
Okay.
And then another teaser trailer. I'm going to call him a trailer because it looks like trailer for a movie. Vignette. Glacier is teased for July, which is right around the corner. Gene is interviewing up next Rey Mysterio on the ramp and says, and I quote, "I have never seen such tremendous acrobatics in my life," in talking about the match from the night before, which was a really good match. And what a sensational match. That's all you need to say.
That's it.
That's it. That's all you need to say right there. It was said back then. It's still being said today. Mysterio kicked off this whole thing. I think he revolutionized wrestling for, I think it's arguably for better or worse. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. At least we know that Rey Mysterio does it better than anybody, and still better than anyone has come along since.
Oh, he's still phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish it had stayed with him. I think that's for me. I just wish it had stayed with him. And not completely infiltrated all of wrestling.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's got to feel good about that. One
Maybe he might hate himself. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
This brings me to my one count. I kind of went in reverse here. There is a rematch: Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio in the cruiserweight title, a rematch from the previous night.
Mhm.
Malenko dominates early, lots of holds again. Manages to squeeze a brain buster in there at one point, which looked really painful, especially when you're dealing with someone of Rey Mysterio's size. And Dean Malenko is not a huge guy, but in comparison to Rey Mysterio, he still looks huge.
Right.
At one point, Malenko hits a brutal power bomb into a 2-count pin. He doesn't let up, submission after submission, but Rey doesn't quit. Dean gets frustrated and throws Rey outside. Then the momentum shifts in Rey's favor while they're outside. There's a sunset flip from Rey from the top turnbuckle. He's pulling out all the stops and gets a few 2 counts. Eventually, Malenko reverses a flip move into a reverse DDT for the win. And
Fun fact here, Dean Malenko is 5'8".
Wow.
Rey Mysterio is 5'6".
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I think with lifts in their boots, I'm sure Malenko was probably close to 6 foot, maybe.
Yeah.
Rey was probably 5'8", maybe add another like 2 inches to him. I don't know.
And this was before Rey was 5'8" this way for muscle.
You
know?
Yeah, right,
Like,
exactly.
He looked so young. He just looked like a little kid.
Yep.
My kick out for the evening was up next.
Mm-hmm.
Was actually the Giant defeating Scott Steiner in the main event. It was a slower pace, but Steiner made this for me again. I can't get over how good he was. I'm such a huge fan. I really wish I'd watched this growing up, to see the evolution of his character too, of his everything, his wrestling, everything. So it was a slower pace, and the crowd was kind of dead anytime the Giant was in control. But they erupt when Steiner does a side suplex on the Giant. I mean, this suplex looked like it could have taken the ring out.
Yeah.
What an amazing maneuver.
Yeah.
Now Steiner is beating on him and wearing him down. He goes to hit him with a chair, but Jimmy grabs it. Jimmy Hart. Steiner wrestles it away from him, though, and smashed Giant over the back with it, but it shatters. So this is when they were still using wooden chairs in WCW. The steel chair thing hadn't happened yet. So the chair shatters, but it doesn't phase the Giant. Giant immediately hits his choke slam for the win. Again, Steiner made it my kick out. I feel like had this been the Giant versus anyone else, this wouldn't have even made my list. We close with the announcement from Mean Gene for the 3 wrestlers who will go to war with the Outsiders. This is the second time he's used that phrase. And they announce the 3 as Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Sting. And they will represent WCW at Bash at the Beach. And then we go off the air.
Man.
It's ramping
exciting.
up.
It is ramping up. I tell you one thing that's ramping up, and that's my bladder. You're going to hear a guitar riff in 3 seconds, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Raw. I'm going to bring up some notes from the Observer that was going on during this time, just to kind of set the context here for everything we just talked about on Nitro and the Great American Bash. So here's that guitar riff. All right, welcome back. So here's what I want to do. I want to kind of take a temperature from the Observer on a couple of things. So this is from the June 24th, 96 Wrestling Observer. And this is about WCW. For probably the first time ever, word of mouth coming off a pay-per-view did a number on the ratings. The June 17th Nitro drew 3.2 and 3.6 for the respective hours, with a combined 3.4 rating and a 5.9 share. As compared to Raw, doing a 2.3 and a 3.8 share.
Mm.
In the head-to-head hour, it was WCW's largest margin of victory ever. The replay did a 1.5 and a 3.8 share, which is one of the highest rated replays as well. Not only that, but the show was tremendous for the first 90 minutes before it started lagging. The show drew 5,600 fans with a $67,000 gate in Richmond, Virginia. Then he starts talking about the rest of the card. This is fun. After the 2.6 rating for Nash's debut, Sullivan was totally in the doghouse to the point where he was invited into a booking meeting on June 11th, and there was considerable speculations that his days were numbered as a booker. By the next day, things were back to normal, although the word was Sullivan had to agree to give up being an active performer after his current program finishes to keep his job as booker. After this week, he's the company's hero. Titan Sports has made several legal threats regarding Hall and Nash, which is why they had to admit on television that they didn't work for the WWF. Hall has contacted Harry Holmes, who is Hulk Hogan's attorney, to try and say that most of the mannerisms he used as Roman, he first used as the Diamond Stud, and then it was he and not the WWF who came up with the name Razor Ramon, and also to get the money still owed to him. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So the lawsuit there, fun fact, Turner ended up paying WWF $2 million. They ended up taking that same $2 million and they purchased WCW with it.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty wild stuff. In the WWF,
wow.
Things are, that right there just kind of makes you scratch your head and go like, good God.
Yeah.
As far as WWF is concerned, we're still at the same venue. And hopefully the following week, we're going to get out of there. It is just probably my least favorite venue. We've got King of the Ring coming up, the debut of Austin 316. We've got a lot to do. We're still Body Donnas are still looking for a new manager, which we get introduced to. It's back at the same spot there in Fayetteville. This show was pretty interesting. The opening bout is Savio Vega and Steve Austin. It's another King of the Ring quarterfinal match. This got my 3 count. A lot of really great ring psychology in this match. Austin is straight away taking care of Savio, and then we see an enziguri and a 2 count off of an enziguri in the start of the match. But that leads to Austin being able to get to the outside of the ring, trip Savio, and runs his leg against the corner post there. Just a lot of really great work, and he hits him with the Stone Cold Stunner. It was not named, and it looked awful.
Oh yeah, it was
really bad.
Really, there was no kick before it was there as well.
No, there was no kick. It was just like I can't remember what move they were trying to get out of. But yeah, hits him with the stunner. Match was great. I would watch it again. After the match, we get a video package of what's going on between the Undertaker and Mankind, and he's causing a lot of hell. Last week, he held the feet of the Undertaker to secure that win or disqualification, I should say, because of a count out. I'm interested to see where that goes. I don't really remember too much of it. I just remember it lasting a long time. We get the Sega Saturn Slam of the Week. Was Jake Roberts nailing Justin Hawk Bradshaw with the DDT to advance in the King of the Ring quarterfinals. We get Vince doing a rest in peace Dick Murdoch. Now we get Mark Marrow and Sable versus Owen Hart with Jim Cornette. I gave this a 2 count because Steve Austin was on commentary.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Just to hear early Steve Austin. He even, at one point he was like, God damn, he's working the arm. He's got to get that arm worked out. It's just for me, that was just super fun to hear a wrestler say work
What did he
and
say?
I don't think he meant to say that.
What did he say? Oh yeah, that's exactly. Well,
Yeah.
they were doing a lot of that on Nitro. They used all those terms. Did you notice
Well,
that?
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, as far as a wrestler saying that,
Yeah. No,
you hear
that's what I mean.
Zbyszko
Like,
and Shivani.
it's like they were doing all this stuff on Nitro. They weren't doing this on Raw. Like,
Oh, well, yeah.
Nitro was like innovating all this stuff, which I just didn't realize. But what was the line that Austin used in this match where they talked about Mark facing Mark Mero, and he said he's built for show, I'm built to go.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was awesome.
Just like so quick too. I was like,
yeah.
wow.
And he wasn't kidding. Mark looked great, but he sucked.
Yeah.
I gave this a 2 count because Mark Mero wins with a roll up, and Owen hits Mark in the back of the head. He knocks him out. A lot of just, it was fun for me. I mean, that lasted for a while, the whole Mark Mero getting knocked out. But here's a new segment on the show: things that don't age well. Jerry the King Lawler said, "You saw the celebration in Chicago after the Bulls won the championship. 100 arrests, 10 shootings. Could you imagine the celebration of Owen Hart as crowned king of the ring for the second time?" Another one, things that don't age well. Let's get Goldust out here and give Wildman Mark Mero mouth-to-mouth insemination.
Oh, God, yeah. That was...
Oh, man. Then we get a pre-taped Superstars segment with Davey Boy Smith and Dirty Diana out there. At this point in time, Bulldog was frustrated that he wasn't in a storyline, and he was about to walk out, and then all of a sudden he's, Brett's taking time off. I'm sure there had to have been something with Stu Hart, and they're like, "Hey, give my boy Davey a spot." But anyway,
that was a good impression.
Anything that sounds like cancer sounds like me. Davey Boy says since Sean tried to take away his most prized possession, he's going to take his most prized possession, the WWF title. Ross informs Bulldog that Shawn Michaels in the building, and Davey says, "I don't give a frog's fat ass where Shawn Michaels is." Well, you know who won the pony? Shawn comes out and attempts to beat his ass. It was a big pull apart. It was probably one of the more believable pull aparts I've seen in a minute, just because they didn't stop.
Yeah.
There was no like, "Hey, hold me." It's like, no, we're going to beat each other up.
Nice.
We get a Doc Hendricks ad for the WWF hotline, and that there are 5 new superstars on their way to the WWF. None of these people matter except for one, and that's Ron Simmons. They hadn't finished a deal yet. I believe from what I'd read, they were still in talks, but apparently there was some house show in Georgia where Vince went to Ron Simmons' home in Georgia. But anyway, Tracy Smothers, Tony Anthony, Alex Porto, Tom Brandy, and Bill Irwin. Tracy Smothers,
sure,
like old classic Freddie Joe Floyd. Tony Anthony, the plumber T.L. Hopper.
Wow.
Alex Porto, the pug. Tom Brandy, Salvatore Sincere, and Bill Irwin was the goon.
Oh my God.
Triple H versus Aldo Montoya. Nothing happens. Lawler prevents the match from even happening, coming to the ring, treating Aldo Montoya like he was the Ultimate Warrior, gave him a pile driver, and then Jake Roberts comes out for the save. So the match didn't even happen. We get a package of Brian Pillman signing with the WWE. Yeah. I don't understand. He wasn't like a loose cannon. This was a really like, a lot of things went on behind the scenes with Brian Pillman getting to WWF. He tricked Bischoff, he tricked Turner all the way around just to get more money out of Vince. And this was before we had favored nations in WCW with contracts and even guaranteed money, and larger merch splits and more creative control and all this. It's crazy that Brian Pillman was kind of in the mix. I like I said, I haven't watched the entire Dark Side of the Ring thing, so I'm not as hip to Brian Pillman history, but at least in the Observer this time around, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get a non-title match. We have the Intercontinental Champion Goldust with Marlena taking on Jake Roberts. Goldust is being Goldust, man. It's awesome. Robert finally gives him a spanking and hip tosses him towards the snake, and it sends Goldust running. He tries to knock him out by pulling him into the post a couple of times so he can give CPR. Jake uppercuts him away and Atomic drops Goldust. All of a sudden, we cut to Mr. Perfect on a split screen, and Jim Cornette has told him who the special referee is for the King of the Ring match. And Corny is behind him, pacing back and forth, rubbing his hands together. I love that when a heel's like, "Oh, I've got something cooking. Oh, brother!" Like I'm a super big fan of that. Perfect says that he's going to love it. Goldust mounts Jake, and we go to commercial. When we get back, Jake is rallying back with the signature, jabs and everything, like he's a boxer. I tell you what else he's doing, jabbing. The short arm clothesline lands Goldust over by the ring apron. When neither Whippleman nor Jake is looking, Marlena slips Goldust some gold dust, and Marlena distracts Whippleman, allowing Goldust to throw the dust into Jake's face. How many times can you say dust? 5. When Jake is blinded, Goldust decks him with the right hand for the 1-2-3. Whippleman checks on Roberts, and he sees that Goldust has dust all over his face and reverses the decision. Goldust picks up Roberts for more punishment, but a blinded Jake the Snake still manages to drop him with the DDT. Remember, Goldust has been blindfolded in a match before. It's kind of a silly main event. No wonder why people were switching to Nitro, including myself, where everything good happens at the end. Over to Mr. Perfect and Jim Cornette. The special guest referee will be Mr. Perfect. Next week, we really don't have any idea of what's going on because it's a new round of Raw taping, so they're out of tape. So pretty lackluster time in WWF, especially when it's not live. But man, we are on the heels of something absolutely incredible. With we've got this massive thing with Owen Hart, and Jim Cornette and that whole stable of people. We're getting the genesis of Steve Austin. I think it's funny that WWF is talking crap about people being old on WCW when you've got Jim Cornette out there. He's old school. You've got Jake Roberts out there. He's old school. He wasn't even as big as Hogan, Macho Man, Earthquake, Jimmy Hart, Bobby Heenan. I don't know. To me, you've got Shawn Michaels. You've got the new generation. You just lost 2 great baby faces in Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And they're over in WCW making a huge impact, basically doing what they were doing before, but elevating themselves to that point, which as we go forward into the summer of 96, there are some lulls, but the amount of groundwork that's being laid for future matches and it's absolutely wild.
They're over there calling the rest of the roster fossils.
Yeah.
little do they know that they're third.
Yeah. And this is the start of 83 weeks. This episode of Raw, and there's no surprise there. It was kind of boring.
Yeah.
And to think that your world champion is Shawn Michaels, your intercontinental champion is a son of a plumber.
Yeah.
In Dustin Runnels, and you've got the Smoking Guns as your tag team champions.
Yep.
Yeah. I really like the Smoking Guns entrance music.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I want one thing about that Steve Austin match.
Okay.
Well, 2 things actually. 2 things that made the match for me too. His facials.
Yeah.
They're so obvious. Everything. He's so animated.
Yeah.
And not in a cartoony way.
Okay, so Austin is kind of like the 5 moves of doom. Cena's the 5 moves of doom. Hogan is the 5 moves of doom. But they, what they all had? They had the ability to sell.
Yeah, I see. I watched that.
Same thing.
I watched that too. They're a little bit more. They'll still throw in other holes. They'll still throw in headlocks. They'll still throw in like other things that that control the pace of a match. It's not just I'm just going to sell the whole time and
Well,
then until I
no,
hit three things.
sure.
I got to disagree with you. I'm sorry, I got to disagree with that.
I'm saying in the context of the entire match,
Yeah,
there's maybe 5 moves that happen. Everything else is the dance of emotions that you're giving your opponent or you're giving the audience. I think that's true in every wrestler. I'm not saying that they
okay,
have a limited move set. I'm just saying the match itself is really 5 things. Taco
sure.
Bell.
I
It's a
think
tortilla with cheese, meat, or vegetables.
I
In a
think
wrestling match, it's a drop down toe hold,
yeah,
headlock, forearm, turnbuckle spot. You know what I mean? Like backflip. And do you really need anything else to tell a story?
right. Except when you're in an Iron Man match, like he was with Bret Hart, and then you have a lot more time to fill. That's what I'm saying. That those wrestlers back then, they were much more diverse. Sure, they could put on the 5 move thing, and that's it.
Right.
But like, you need much more than 5 moves and then a bunch of selling to make an hour-long Iron Man match interesting, which he could. So that's why I disagree. Like that, he was all over the place. Not only was his facials correct, but he was so animated and hyped and intense, like way
He is
more
in
than
Austin.
Austin.
Okay.
Way more than I even remember him. He like he was rabid.
Yeah. I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't think we're disagreeing on anything. I think we're saying the same thing. I just he definitely did have a higher level of presence than we saw, Owen in the Mark Merrill
Hmm.
match. Still a great high level of detail and doing a lot of heel moves, taking shortcuts, um, being a little bit more aggressive. That's the thing I like about old school wrestling is even
Hmm.
though you're being overly aggressive, or even though you're not doing anything super physical, you're being aggressive
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
When you grab the hair, you grab the hair. You don't just kind of grab somebody's head and throw them. You grab their hair and treat them like they're nothing. And there was like more dignity when a baby face did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think mainly what it is that when you watch guys like Hogan and Sting or whatever, to me, you put them in anything more than a 5 minute match, and it gets repetitive
yeah,
because they can
yeah,
only do the same 5 things and in the
right,
same ways. Where this new crop of people that generation came up, a lot of
yeah,
them, like Austin's, like Owen Hart, like
yep.
let's see,
Michaels,
from Shawn Michaels, yeah, exactly, like that whole new crop. What they could do was do all those things in many different ways and not make them boring. And
yeah.
that's
We also had a lot cleaner production value too. We
mhm,
had brighter lights. We had a different camera angles showing the arena. So you could have
yeah,
a 10,000 person seat arena. They put a little bit of a fisheye lens on there, and it looks like a 30,000.
sure,
You could just move the entire audience to one section to where, like, oh, we need those seats filled. Take the people from the nosebleeds and put them down there. There were just a lot of things presentation wise that made it look even bigger. That probably hid some of the imperfections.
oh yeah, sure, and as we saw, the first stunner was a massive
Ooh,
imperfection.
yeah, that'd be
Um,
like me giving you a
it,
stunner.
it was it was it was awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward, but this is where we're at in wrestling
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
I mean, we're oh man, the Monday Night Wars have started. If you're digging all this, we encourage you. If you haven't already signed up for Peacock, go sign up for Peacock. It's cheap. I haven't explored anything else Peacock has to offer. I mean, yeah, I've watched The Office a little bit, but my wife does not like The Office, so I
Brooklyn
can't
Nine
do what I
Nine when
did
it's
back when I
on.
was single.
Brooklyn Nine Nine.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, dude, you're not hip to Brooklyn Nine Nine?
I've never watched a single
Oh my
episode.
god, it's
It's kind of
so funny.
it's kind of like, okay, listen, Brooklyn Nine Nine is kind of like Parks and Rec. It's kind of like, and this is in my opinion,
Okay.
like Lord of the Rings, like Harry Potter. It's something that I've heard about so much. I'm just like, yeah, you guys have that thing. I'm good.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Damn
Well, if
good.
you're ever bored and just looking for another comedy to watch, another really, it's just stupid comedy, but it's not like Parks and Rec or The Office comedy. It's not like that type of awkward reality
Yeah.
based. No, it's straight up humor.
Okay.
If you're ever bored, just give it a go. I promise you, you won't turn it off after that.
Let me tell you, the thing that we watch the most, and I'm probably going to get heat for saying this publicly. My wife and I, when we eat dinner, that's the only time we watch anything is when we're eating dinner because we don't want to hear each other chew. Apparently, we both have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it. She does. I'm apparently a loud eater. I'm also a fast eater. I do not enjoy anything with eating. I'm like Vince McMahon. I'm just eating it to eat it, and I'm done with it. I'll eat an ice cream bar. Right? We've got the little fruit bar, right? Gimmicks, right?
Yep.
And I've just been cleaning those out. I've actually got to go to Kroger and get some more before the wife gets home. Anyway, but we've been watching Wheel of Fortune lately.
Wow.
Yeah. And just like, it's kind of fun to see who can come up with the puzzle first.
Okay.
But it's also super funny about how awkward people can be on a game show.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to like judge people a little bit when they're just not good. They're like, hi, Pat. And talk about your family. I'm married to a very beautiful woman of 14 years. Her name's Karen, and we've got 2 boys. And it's just like, who are these people? Where do you find? And even during the pandemic, when they were trying to tape episodes, the majority of the contestants were like from the surrounding area, and they just ran out of people.
Wow.
So they had people on that had no business being on like cable television at any time of the day. They had this one guy's like, I play Dungeons and Dragons. Are you married? Nope. You don't say, pal.
Yeah.
Where are you from? I live 2 blocks up the road. Yeah, it was that was pretty. We were watching Jeopardy there for a little bit, and then our boy, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
The father figure of America.
Oh.
Who do you think they're going to get to replace that? Yeah, he is.
Right. I think it should be what's the Reading Rainbow guy?
LeVar?
Yeah, LeVar Burton. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be him.
Yeah.
You don't like him?
I'm not mad at it. I mean, I was really hoping Neil deGrasse Tyson would do it, but he apparently doesn't want anything to do with it, which is silly.
I could be down with that too, but yeah, I just don't see that happening. But I could definitely be down with it.
Maybe Bobby Flay can do it. He's doing everything else.
That's funny. That would be hilarious.
I meant to say Bobby Bones.
Bobby Flay.
Oh, Bobby Bones.
I would never watch Jeopardy again if Bobby Bones did it. So,
yeah,
that guy annoys the shit out of me.
Yep, there we go. 2 28s, 15. 28, 15. You want to see my notes here? These are all the points.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, folks, listen, I'm going to get back to tracking on music that's terrible. And I gotta cut the grass here in a little bit. But if you listen this far, get your shit together and go do something.
Get your priorities straight.
Folks, have a great rest of your week. Yeah, we did 2 weeks of Raw and Nitro and a pay-per-view, just so we can get caught up here because it's June 16th. Next week, we'll be back again with Nitro and Raw, and hopefully it's a little bit better on Raw because it's starting to suck. Mm-hmm. If you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns, keep them to yourself. You can follow me at Isaac Briston on Instagram, at LB Howison on Instagram, at Trolling Podcast on Instagram. We don't even post anything right now. We probably should. We probably will. Until next time.
I'll do it right now.
Peace, love, hugs, peace in the streets. Bye.
Bye.